Beautiful day today to talk about union versus non-union. If you're working in the film industry and you've thought about breaking into the camera department, then this one's for you. I want to talk to you guys today about something that I personally feel like doesn't get talked about often, and even when it's talked about, it doesn't really get talked about in the depth that maybe I want, or I feel like it might be helpful for people to know. And that's exactly what the purpose of today's episode is going to be. I'm going to break down union versus non-union, especially with the camera department. I'm going to talk about the real stuff, the burnout, the energy, the protection, the politics, everything. And also what it means to be a woman who is navigating in the camera department. So I'm a part of the union. I've been on union sets before. I've also done the non-union hustle, and I feel like I've had the privilege and the pressure of, learning things the hard way. So let's get into it. What is union versus non-union? Essentially, union work is when you're part of a collective, like in my case, for instance, it would be IATSE, and they help you negotiate your wages, they provide pensions, protects your hours, gives you access to health insurance, there's crew safety measures, and a lot more. Non-union work is everything else that's outside of that structure. Freelance projects, branded content, commercials, indie films, and in most cases, you're operating without a safety net. And the other common terms that you might have heard about is above the line and below the line. Essentially, above the line is people who are involved in projects right from the start, creatively and sometimes even financially. So that means the producers, the writers, directors, oftentimes your actors are above the line. And below the line is people like us, the technicians, the crew, like camera department, grips, electrics, set deck, craft services, locations, basically everybody else that's a part of a show or a project that I feel like helps bring that vision to life. So let me talk to you guys about the camera life in the union world and the structure. When I got my first union show, I felt like I had entered a different dimension. I'm not even joking. Like, it felt like such a drastic shift from the projects and the kind of work that I was doing in the non-union world. Turnaround times were respected, gear was being fully prepped, there was time allotted for a prep and a wrap out for the camera department. And for the first time ever, I didn't really have to chase down a producer to have a lunch break on time. And I know it sounds simple, but that alone was feeling like it was a luxury. So what does that mean? That means one of the biggest pros of being a part of a union is that you get paid a standard wage. And for a second AC, that could look like anything from $40 to $45 an hour minimum for 12 hours a day. And that makes a huge difference because you're not guessing how long it's going to be. And if you go over that in a scenario and you feel like, the schedule is a bit longer than anticipated, you're still getting paid an hourly $45, which helps. Whereas in the non-union world, oftentimes based off of my experience, even if you go overtime, it's a flat rate. So sure, you could pocket the $300 that you're making on that indie project, but it could go on for 17 hours and you're just getting paid the $300. The other pro is lunchtime is tracked. Things like meal penalties exist. Prep days are real. I don't have to go out on my own for an unpaid full day at a rental house just to prep something last minute. There's literally weeks allotted on a union show for the camera department to prep their gear, make sure everything's lined up, everything is the way that it's supposed to be. And my favorite part is the health insurance. It's not just about today. It's about what happens 10 years down the line. It's about that sustainability. There's a sense of order and there's a sense of structure and shared respect. And it's not perfect, but there is a process and people respect that process. some people come up to me and they'll be like, oh, you're part of a union and that's so rigid and I can never do that lifestyle. The hierarchy is too crazy. Or the most common one I hear is like, oh, camera department in the union is like a cult. It's not. I can tell you it's not like a cult. What I do think that those people are implying is perhaps that structure to them seems a bit, intense. But for me personally, I genuinely like that. I like the fact that the union has a structure. There is a level of professionalism and top tier set etiquette that you're being taught for a reason, right? Because when you show up to set on a big budget show, you have a lot of responsibility. You have a lot of moving parts that come with your job, and the hierarchy and the teachings that come from the union help you understand that responsibility, and they help you understand that role a lot better. And when people climb up the ladder, for example, in the union world, they go from a second to a focus puller to an operator, they understand what those roles required and also what they had to go through, in a sense, to achieve the position that they're at. There's a level of respect for each position because people have to earn their way there. They can't just show up and be like, this is who I am, and you know what I mean? So I actually like that part, and I just wanted to say that I think one of the biggest selling points of the union for me has always been the fact that there is a structure and there is a certain way to go about things. Maybe that's just who I am and I learn things better that way, but people don't take it lightly. People don't take the positions that they're in lightly, and that earns real respect from people. That earns real trust from people because you hire somebody on a union job, you look at their resume, and also okay, this person has been doing it for a really long time. They really know their job well. But here is also the other side of that. The union life is not for everyone. There's a very specific type of personality or a person that lifestyle might appeal to. And I say that because it becomes your world, in a sense. You're usually booked on long shows for extended periods of time, and I know, speaking directly from my experience, when I started booking the longer shows, once I had upgraded from a trainee to a second AC, I would be gone from like 7 months to 8 months. And when I mean gone, I mean completely involved in that world of the show that is taking up so much of my time, because it's, Monday to Friday, sometimes even weekends, 12 hours a day, sometimes more. So the weekends would be my time to reset and sleep and recharge my energy, not necessarily spending that time with my family and friends. So luckily, I will also say I've had very supportive friends, very supportive and understanding family members who truly see, okay, she's working, this takes up a lot of her time, and they are patient with me. But you could be somebody who maybe doesn't have that support system, or maybe you could be yourself as the type of person who's like, you know what, I don't really want work to become my life. I want work to be a part of my life, but I can't deal with the fact that it takes over such a large chunk of my time, or such a large chunk of my year, kind of thing. So that's a big aspect of the union that I noticed quite quickly and quite early on when I had joined. These things matter, Family and friends are also a part of our life, like I said, and it's a beautiful thing to be a part of a union, right? I feel like it's a privilege, and I feel very happy to be a part of mine. And at the same time, I don't want to neglect the fact that these other things are equally valuable, and it can also be intense. It could be an intense experience. Basically, what I'm trying to get at here is, if you're somebody who is thinking about joining the union, really ask yourself, am I okay missing out on so much of my time that perhaps might be going into work? Because I can tell you, there have been celebrations, big life events for my family and siblings and friends or birthday parties that I have had to kind of think twice about, because I would look at the dates and I would look at what I'm doing and I'd be like, okay, I'm working, and then I would maybe miss out on that, right? So if you're okay with missing out on certain events like that in your life, then sure, the union could be great for you. If you are somebody who has been in the non-union world, doc style music videos, run and gun, and you want to go from that to focus pulling on a show like Umbrella Academy or the Star Treks, there is one clear road to that, and that road is union. The union is the only way that you are going to get yourself in the door for the big budget productions and the streaming services to hire you, because the chances of those productions hiring a non-union member are, I want to say, like 5%. Those kinds of platforms only hire union crew, and that's a pretty big benefit. I know for me, when I look at my life in this space and I look at how I'm moving in this space, I want to be a part of projects that I can watch on TV, or I can share with my friends and family, or if there's a movie that I've worked on, I want to watch it in theaters. There's that kind of like excitement about that project. I want it to be seen. I want it to reach the level of audience that these kinds of platforms provide. So that's a huge benefit that the union provides. It's a huge plus that you have when you are part of a union versus non-union, because I don't know if the non-union people would get an opportunity like that, just kind of navigating their way in that space. Now let's talk about the non-union side, the hustle, the flexibility. If you're somebody that's in the non-union world, you probably understand flexibility and run and gun like nobody else does, because that's probably what you're used to all the time. Non-union is oftentimes where we all start, and we learn what we're made up of. We learn what works for us and what doesn't. One of the pros about being in the non-union is, if you're somebody that's good at your job, the flexibility to move up the ranks is probably going to be a lot faster, contrary to the union side, where I said there's certain procedures and steps and a hierarchy that you traditionally would have to follow. Obviously, there are some cases where people are just, moving up and they skip certain positions. I can't speak to that because I don't know what that's like, but I have heard of the odd cases. But yeah, so in the non-union side, I also feel like you get to be more creative, because it's oftentimes, at least from my journey with non-union, it's where the fun, creative projects happen. It's where the passion projects happen. It's where you're often working with your friends and you're kind of just like exploring as you go. And there's a really beautiful element to non-union, and sometimes even today when I get the odd call from my friends being like, hey, I have a passion project, I'd really love to have you out, do you want to be a part of it? I'd be like, yeah, absolutely I would be, because it's just a different energy there. Everyone's learning things as they go, everyone's a little bit more laid back, everyone's super happy to be there, just being involved and collaborating, and I think that's a really beautiful part about being in the non-union. It's like there's innovation, there's freedom, less, like red tape, around it. And that's where you really get put through the fire. If you're somebody that's often new, maybe someone who's a recent grad from film school, maybe you're somebody who doesn't understand the full concept of film, but knows that you like film, I would encourage you to do non-union projects. That's when you'll really know, okay, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, what kind of a structure do I thrive in, and what's my space. But like I said, in the non-union world, you probably are missing out on the protection, you're probably missing out on the wages, and you are most likely going to be your own advocate for a lot of things. I've been a part of non-union sets where, I've addressed like a safety concern and it just goes unchecked, or I've had to fight for a proper rate that I think I should be getting, but they're like, no, it's a flat rate. It's unfortunate, right? Because everybody wants to be a part of a set where they know these basic things are taken care of, like pay, food, accommodations, safety. And if issues arise, they know they can go to somebody that will handle it. And in the union side, if something ever goes wrong, you can always call the office. There's always a person that you can go to bring up these concerns, and there's a support system there. So that's sort of the downside of non-union in that context, where you're kind of like on your own in that sense. But that being said, you know, non-union work can still serve its purpose. If you're an individual who is a little bit older, maybe has a family, maybe has another full-time job, and film and TV is something that you're passionate about, and it's a hobby that you still want to pursue, non-union is great for you. It's more on your terms, you know, it's less demanding. You could take breaks, but just know that it still comes with its trade-offs, and sooner or later you're gonna probably hit a ceiling and be like, okay, I've been working in this same position for years and years and years. I'm not really reaching the kind of work that I want to reach, or maybe not reaching higher in terms of the positions that I want to go to, or just creating the kind of content that I want to create. You know, that's what I thought about. And I was like, you know what? I know I'm going union. So now I'm going to switch it up a little bit and talk about something that is a little close to my heart. And obviously I can't end this episode without talking about what it's like to be a woman in the camera department. And you know, it's funny because it's 2025, but I will still to this day walk on set and somebody will make a little comment or say something about how I got the job, and it will be like, oh, you know what, you just got the job because you're a girl, or yeah, well, you're just on the set because, I mean, look at you, you're pretty, or your hair's so nice, or those little, you know, side comments. And I really want to talk about that today. I listen to these things and I'm hearing these things, but perhaps what these people are not realizing is not just me, but so many of these other women that do exist in film are bringing so much more to the table than just that. Some of those things include running the floor. There are so many confident women that I see in the camera department that are showing up to work. They have a certain level of professionalism that they carry, you know. Women are able to anticipate things before being asked. You know, I look at the women who I work with and they show up with such empathy and collaboration and confidence and positivity, right? It's such a joy to work with them. And people don't realize, but women bring a lot to the table. What I bring is not just the optics, but it's about the ethics, you know. I know how to navigate my way through set. I know how to communicate with intention and with clarity. I know how to be professional. I don't need to be micromanaged on set. I know how to anticipate what's needed without being babysat. I'm a dependable worker, right? At least I think I am. And I move with purpose. And like I just said, I think women lead differently. We just do. We're more in tune with the room. There's a level of precision and calm that I've noticed with the women that I work with. And almost like a sense of emotional intelligence that really holds the team together or keeps the things going, that often goes overlooked. The issue with that for me is sometimes I feel like we have to work twice as hard or speak twice as much or do twice the running around just to be seen as equals. And when we walk onto set, the pressures are a lot harder. When we walk onto set, it is different, you know? And I'm in no way saying women are better than men or men are... I'm not having that debate. I completely understand that this is a hard job regardless of your gender, period. But what I'm saying is being a woman adds another layer to that, which affects us maybe a little bit deeper. And, you know, I know it affects me sometimes when I go home and I think, why did I have to go through all of that? And then I talk to a friend of mine who's a guy, and he might share that he's had the exact same experience, but a totally different outcome. And it wasn't as hard for him. And then it hits even harder for me, where I'm like, okay, well, is it because I'm a woman? Even though naturally, as Garima, I don't think like that. But sometimes you do sit and wonder, is it because of that? And I feel like, you know, if I have the ability to have a platform like this to speak about it, I want to talk about it because this is an industry that is creative. This is an industry where people get together to create art and to feel included and to feel respected, and nobody should have to prove themselves to be there or be taken half seriously just because of their gender or ethnicity or age, you know, because those things exist, but we don't have to feed into them. Because the truth is, the industry doesn't really create opportunities like that for you. You have to do that yourself, whether it's through finding a support system or friends that understand you or have shared experiences. But we have to create that door as women for other women that are coming in, and we have to keep that door open. That is how we're going to change the culture. It's not just about surviving it, it's about changing it. So the bottom line is, union versus non-union, at the end of the day, these are two very different worlds, and I'm nobody to, you know, tell you what's right or wrong. You really have to look at yourself. You have to look at your value, your energy, what you're trying to gain out of this industry and the experience, because as I mentioned, this industry takes a lot out of you, you know, physically, mentally, emotionally. There's a lot of time that people put and dedicate for years working in this field. And the whole purpose of me making this video today was to educate you guys and maybe bring forward some knowledge about what burnout looks like and, you know, what would a realistic path in the union look like for somebody. On one side, the union offers great structure. It offers the health benefits. It offers the long-term sustainability and the safety and the access to the big shows. But like I said, it can be very intense, and especially for somebody who isn't prepared for that kind of a lifestyle. It demands your time, it demands your consistency, and it demands your commitment. And non-union offers you that freedom, that, you know, rapid growth, especially at the very beginning, but it can also burn you out very quickly, especially if you're not somebody that's careful. So at the end of the day, no matter what you choose, respect yourself and go where your time is most valued. Speak your rate, you know, have those conversations with the producers, have those conversations with your friends, really figure out where your energy is being valued. See what aligns with your goals and your lifestyle, and walk away when there is a set or a situation that does not align with your needs and your energy, because it will drain you. Okay? Like, I mean it when I say that there are people out there who will try to convince you that your burnout is equivalent to you being passionate in this industry. It is not. Your burnout does not equal passionate energy in this industry. And lastly, to every single woman that works in film, whether you're part of camera department or whether you're not part of the camera department, you do not have to apologize for being visible. You do not have to apologize for showing up as yourself. If anything, I'm a huge advocate for always showing up as your authentic self, because that is how people will remember you, and that is what will set you apart the easiest and the fastest from everybody else. Show up like you own that space, because you do, okay? And I see you, and I'm here for you, I'm rooting for you, and as a woman who has found her voice slowly but surely in the camera department, I feel very lucky to be here even talking about it. You know, because it's empowering to walk in spaces like that and know you're not just someone who checks the box. You're not just somebody who people view as the optics. You're somebody that's there because you bring a lot to the table. So to wrap it up, I just want to say, if you're listening to this and maybe you're somebody that's early on in their career or you're at a crossroads right now, I truly hope that I provided you with some solid points to stand on. The path that you take in this industry will really shape how you move, more importantly, how you protect yourself. And no matter what anybody in this industry tells you, there is absolutely room for you here. Whether you're somebody that's union or non-union, okay, new or seasoned, woman or otherwise, your voice, your work, and the way that you lead absolutely matters. You don't have to shrink yourself to fit in, and you do not have to prove your value to anybody. I would say go out there, talk to your crew, ask questions, be intentional, because the more you do that, the more you will actually align yourself with the right kinds of people and the right kind of opportunities for yourself. And in a way, the industry has a beautiful way of providing that too. Like, I found the more I got better at setting my boundaries and figuring out, what's that saying of like, the more no's you say, the more weight it gives to the yeses. That kind of thing helped me align with the right kind of jobs, the right kind of set environments. Honor the part of yourself that says, I want to do this kind of work. I mean, I always look at it like this for myself. My choices are going to directly impact my future legacy that I'm building. And the more I learn how to set clear boundaries now, the better aligned I will be for the right kinds of people, the right kinds of job opportunities, and the right kind of creative spaces that I want to be a part of, that truly align with me, that truly fit and inspire me, and keep that fire within myself alive. And if you guys stayed till the end of this episode, thank you so much for listening, and give it a like, share it with your friends. If you know somebody who this video might be useful for, definitely let them know. And thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.